Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
I'm very, very pleased and very lucky, in fact, to have Warren Mundine on the program. Really nice to welcome you to the show. Hi, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, Jeremy. It's great to be talking to you.
You must be a little bored after the hectic lead up to the referendum, which I think you and Jacinta Price basically won single-handedly.
Well, I did need to have a break. I had a couple of weeks off, put on my board shorts, went down the beach and relaxed. But now I'm back into it again. There's a lot of work to be done this year.
What have you got planned?
Well, look, post the referendum, we really need now to put in place what the Australian public was saying, which is about treating everyone as equals, helping Indigenous groups who are in need and getting things done. Well, I'm a bit sick and tired of waiting for the government, so I'm going to be I'm forming I'm going to have a forum, invite all the banks and the capital people in and other people and actually start formulating policies and getting things done.
Why do you need the banks in the big end of town? Why is that going to help?
Well, we need the money. We need to go in there and focus on the entrepreneurs, because anyway, in these communities, the only way you're going to get any changes is through economic development and education. And so that's where we need them to come on board and to actually go in and start identifying people. We don't need committees. We don't need voices. We just need action.
Yeah. Time and time again, people say to me that the money that was spent on that referendum could have gone a long way to fixing that gap had that money been differently applied. And
they're correct. What a waste of time and what a waste of hundreds of millions of dollars. It's could have done so much good for that. But we won't need that amount of money. We just need people to invest and get a return for that investment and make real differences.
The Aboriginal people would be what, about 3% of the population?
Yeah, that'll be right, Jeremy, yeah.
But the people who are suffering from this much talked about gap, that wouldn't be the 3%, because a lot of successful Aboriginal people or people with Aboriginal background, including, of course, yourself, there are doctors and lawyers and businessmen, and they're involved in every aspect of community and business life. So what would the percentage be of people who would need help?
It'd mainly be people in rural and remote areas, so it's only a very small percentage. That's why I said it isn't a lot of money to be spent in this area, but it has to be spent in a commercial way so that you're getting return for that investment. So people are building businesses, people are able to access and build their own homes and do things like every other Australian. It's exactly the same thing, and getting them into education. But it's only going to be a small percentage of that group, and it's not hard work to do this. I just want it done. That's all. That's what the Australian
look, I don't blame you. Yeah. But if you've got people who are living in remote areas of Australia, it's very difficult, I guess, with everything, health and education and opportunity. It's very difficult to get those sort of things to people if they're a million miles from Whoop Whoop.
Well, it depends where they are. Now, if you look at the Northern Australian area, there is tremendous opportunities there as we're building wharfs, as we're building cattle stations and other things that are exporting into Asia. There's a great lot of opportunities. But you're right, there are some places that nothing will fix those areas.
What do you reckon can be done about places like Tennant Creek and Alice Springs, where there seems to be a terrible lawlessness?
Yeah. We have to stop treating people differently. We actually got to confront and make the hard decisions about the lawlessness and whether we like it or not. When people are committing crimes and doing things, then they have to be dealt with.
Yeah. Well, when the prison population is, I don't know what it is. It's extraordinary. It's Aboriginal people are far too overrepresented. Now, is that because there is a prejudice against them, or is it because they break more laws?
It's because of that, the second part. So because you've got these groups of people who are, living in low economic opportunities, and as you said, in the opportunities and services and that, then this is what happens. So the areas that we can do things, with the northern development and stuff, then we can get people into jobs and starting businesses and being part of that process of improving their communities. But in other areas, we've got to be realistic. Things are, they're going to be tough. And so people need to look like what I did, my family did. I call myself a little economic refugee. I come from a place which didn't have any opportunities, didn't have any economic development happening. And so we moved to Sydney. And people need to look at things like that, moving to Alice Springs or moving into Darwin or moving into Perth or other places like that. Yeah. And that's the reality, because if you don't do that, then you are going to still be stuck in the same sort of hole.
Your story would be fascinating. I don't know if you have written a book, but a personal account of how you have become so successful. And you have no problem with white Australia. You've got no problem with black Australia. You've just made a great success of your life.
This country, first of all, this country, we've got refugees that come in. We've got, after the Second World War, we've got immigrants who come here, and we've got white, black, green, pink, purple, whatever colour you're on, different religions and faiths, and all this wonderful culture that we've built in this country. And that's why I always celebrate Australia Day, because this is celebrating Australians in the Australian country, and because we're the most successful country in the world in regard to dealing with a whole lot of different people.
Yep.
We don't have the problems that other places have. But but the good news for you, and I always have this little bit of a joke, it's at a reasonable price at every good bookstore. I have written a book called Warren Mundine in Black and White, and it's about how we can do these things.
Okay, I hope you put in there, I haven't seen it, but I'll go looking for it. I hope you put in there some of your own personal story, whether you were mentored by someone, or you just happened to be in the right place at the right time, or you just worked bloody hard.
Well, it's all free. And it also, I was very lucky in the lottery of life. I had very good parents. They had very low education opportunities, but they just worked hard. And me and my brothers and sisters, we were watching them work hard and not being victims and getting on with life taught us a lot of lessons, and that helped us.
Talking about corporates, Les Ellicus is with me. A friend of mine comes in and drops in on the show all the time. I'm very grateful to have him. He might jump in on this conversation.
Look, I do have a question, Warren, and congratulations to you and to Jacinta for the marvellous and steadfast work you did to achieve, I think, was the right outcome for Australia and for the Indigenous population. But the question I have is that you've outlined what you want to do, and I think that's very noble and admirable that you have a plan for the future. What disturbs me greatly, and it's a two-part question, what disturbs me greatly is that the government itself, who pushed this referendum, doesn't seem to have a plan B, but also the second part of the question is, do you feel that the government is going to resist you in doing what you want to do for your people?
Well, the first part of the question is 100% right. We've been sitting around since the 14th of October last year, waiting for some announcements in that. They did make one good announcement. Madeline King did over the Christmas period, which is about how do we get private home ownership on Aboriginal lands. It may surprise a lot of Australians that 55% of the Australian land mass is owned by Aboriginals, but they can't own property. They can't own assets on that. So I support that, and we need to move forward on that and get people like every other Australian able to own their own home and build their future in that. So yes, the Albanese government is just, they haven't got anything really. I always say that since the 1930s there hasn't been a government that has only served one term. I think these blokes are working very hard about becoming that first government.
No, I agree.
But I'm not going to wait around it. Of course, the government's going to push back on that. But that's why I'm reaching out to the private sector in that, because there are some really good opportunities. in rural areas, and that we can start doing things and get jobs. Now, of course, in Northern Australia there's a number of cattle stations. Let's turn them into individual Aboriginal people who are entrepreneurs and are commercial, and support them to make them run not as a collective but as a private commercial concern, and there's an opportunity to export and stuff like that. There's also these projects. We just saw the Barossa gas thing that's been dragged through the courts, and the good news is that the judge had a lot of common sense and just chucked it out and said it was a whole lot of crap, and the gas project will go ahead. That has opened up jobs and opportunities for the Tiwi people up there for that to happen. So we've got to support those things. Forget about all this other stuff. We've just been wasting billions of dollars we spent every year, and we're getting no results from that.
No.
And you're right, Jeremy. There are a lot of Aboriginals who got on with their life. They become doctors and lawyers and apprentices and did trades and that, and they're doing wonderful things. And they're sort of like young sung heroes. And I'm always a great believer that if a team wins a grand final, it's about belief in themselves and getting off the backsides and training hard and working hard to get a result. And there's a lot of Aboriginals who are doing that. And I think we need to be focusing on them and get rid of all this whinging, get rid of all this victimhood stuff.
Yes.
And actually let's work together and get things done and get away from all this other division stuff. I'm sick and tired of these arguments over Australia Day every year. I think we just need to get on and celebrate the great things that this nation has done, and we need to keep pushing ahead and taking the cudgel to these people, because all they are haters. That's all they are. They just want to divide the country. They just want to, knock us all the time. Reckon we're all a bunch of racists in this place and that. And I tell you what, we're not. We're of course we have some racists here, but so does every country in the world.
Yeah. So
we're not unique in that area. But I tell you what, the 99.9% of the people who live here are pretty good people.
Don't you think the white activists, it's not really too much to do with Aboriginal people. It's just that these white activists have weaponised Aboriginal people, and we don't know really what their agenda is. They may think they're working for Aboriginal people, but we don't really know what they're up to.
Well, we don't. And but we've seen the results of it. We've seen, Aboriginal people supported that gas project up, the Tiwi people up in the Tiwi Islands and that. But these third parties, as I call them, or Greens or environmental, they find one Aboriginal up there, and they just, and as the judge said, they just made it up, and that was holding up this project. Yeah, and yet the Aboriginal people wanted it. Santos, the company, wanted it. Australia wanted it because it's going to be a great export for us and bring dollars back to Australia. So I don't know why we're listening to this small percentage of people. We should be, listening to the voices out there. We saw the poll on Australia Day. 67% of Australians want to keep it on the 26th of January. And celebrate Australia. Only 17% wanted to do away with it. Why are we listening to that small group? Let's listen to Australians. Yes. We did it in the referendum. Look, 60 to 40%. This is so. We've got to stop listening to these troublemakers and people who want to divide us by race and by colour and all this stuff. We're just nonsense. We just want to get on with and build this country better for our kids and our grandkids and our future.
Well, Warren, on that note, you being the expert in the field as such, where do you feel the greatest amount of need is actually required? Is it the Pilbara, the APY lands, Wodanya? Where do you think we need to really start to concentrate and solve it bit by bit?
Well, the first thing that we've got to do, and this is what every business person does, and that is to do a review of where all this money's been spent and has it achieved anything, and that will then start identifying the areas that need to be fixed. And once we get that, then we can then concentrate on those areas, but also don't like welfare or any other supporting needs, don't do it by colour. I know there's a lot of whitefellas who are struggling in remote and regional Australia too. So we need to just put it down on a needs base. And as you said earlier, Jeremy, I don't need that support. I'm doing well for myself, and there's a lot of other Aboriginals doing that. But there are black, white and green and pink, purple in this country who are struggling. Focus on them. Don't make it an Aboriginal thing. Don't make it, a white.
No, absolutely. But the trouble when you talk about and the money is finite. There's only just so much money, and so much of it seems to be wasted. Of that 40 billion that's given to Aboriginal people. Wasted on frivolous things like legal aid. I mean, some legal aid, I'm sure, is fine, but silly cases like the sacred sites at the bottom of the sea, and I don't know what that case cost, but it would be millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, there's no doubt it would have cost millions and millions of dollars. And it also held up for a period of time a project that would have had good outcomes in regard to bringing, as I say, export dollars and opportunities and that for people living in those remote areas that could have got jobs in it. But we do stupid things in this country, and that was one of them. And we do listen to stupid people. Yeah, we've got to just stop that. We just got to stop that.
Thank God you're there. Thank God you're there. How is Jacinta? What's the latest on her? What's she going to do?
She's going good. She did the similar thing that I did, and I think it was very smart of her because she's got a big year this year because she's the shadow minister, and she's got a big battle in Parliament, and that fighting for all Australians, not just Indigenous, but for all Australians. So she went away with her husband and kids and had a good break. And she needed it. She worked bloody hard during the campaign last year, and I'm glad she did that. She's now refreshed, and in February when she comes back to work, she'll be out there knowing Jacinta, taking up the good fight.
Well, please give her my best, will you?
Well, I will, Jeremy. Good on you.
So, Les again, Warren. I guess we could say that Jacinta is probably the de facto Minister for Indigenous Affairs. Well,
the current one is what happened to her?
Hopeless.
Well, she's been missing in action.
Yeah, just unbelievable. This whole thing's, if you're a comedy writer, you couldn't write this. It's just unfortunately you'd be laughing, but it's. If it wasn't so serious, we're paying for us taxpayers are paying for this rubbish. I just can't believe it. Yeah.
Warren, I think we've probably spent over $1 billion on the referendum between the government and corporates and everyone's energy and effort. And I think the biggest waste has been all this energy and effort that's been misplaced. I mean, you want to get on to help your people and help us Australians as a one people, one nation, one flag, all that type of stuff. We want to get on with things, but we've just been marching on the spot, as you've identified. This is going on for so many years. We just need more people like you and Jacinta to stand up, and we need more people in Australia as individuals to stand up and get rid of all this wokey crap behaviour that's going on.
You're right, Les. That's one thing I'm really proud about, because people were ringing us, Jacinta and I, and saying, "Look, we agree 100% with you, but our business, people we work for, they've signed up for the Yes campaign, so we're scared that we might lose our jobs and that." And then I use the story that was about my mum and dad. My dad was a strong Labor bloke, and that. And Mum, she voted, she was more of an independent. And I remember Labor lost this election once, and he's in the lounge room whinging with Dad, and he turned to my Mum and he said, "I bet you voted for the coalition." And she said, "Well, you'll never know. It's a secret ballot."
Good for her. Good for her.
And I told that story to these people who were nervous. Don't worry about it. You just do your job, do your work, and then go in there and vote. And they won't know because it's a secret ballot.
Yeah. Of the options, and I've heard that the Liberal Party would like to have you in the Senate. And then there are other people I've spoken to who think that you should start your own party. maybe the Common Sense Party. You know, in England, apparently they have appointed a minister for common sense in the English Parliament. Now that
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Well, I think we need the problem. The old saying, the problem with common sense is not so common. I'm starting to feel that we always need people to go to university and get educated and do things. But as we're going along, you just look at the vote in the referendum and the polls, and it seems to me that the more people get educated, the more stupid they are, and they lose their common sense. All we got to do is treat people as human beings.
Yeah, and all the same.
All the same. That's all we got to do. It's all
one rule for us all, and just think what a united Australia could possibly achieve. We've done marvellous things in the past. We're getting sidetracked now.
Oh, we're getting into stupid arguments and stupid things that have total irrelevance. And I agree 100% with you blokes. This is just nonsense. Let's focus on the real issues. That we got opportunities, and it's up to people to pick and choose their opportunity and have a go. Yeah. And that's a good old Aussie thing. Always have a go. People will support you. And I like you for doing it. And I just find, and also we're losing our sense of humour. We're losing it. We're turning into a miserable country. And I'm sitting there going, come on, mate. We've done great things here, and we've done great things in the past. So let's just build on it and keep going.
Well, are you tempted to, or are you considering a spot in the Senate?
Well, look, I'm. Look, I'd be a liar if I said we had not having discussions with that. But at the same time, I'm just not going to sign up to be a bloke sitting on the back bench and I want to be out there and helping us all Australians and helping people and they get the opportunities. I'm a great believer if you can get an opportunity for a person, or you can get a person a job, that's the greatest thing in life.
Yeah, true. Well, bless you, Warren, and good luck with everything you do.
Thanks a lot, Jeremy. Thanks a lot, lads.
Okay, all the best, Warren.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.